What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the GoodeBaker podcast. I'm Nick Baker, and way over there is Shane Good.
Across from you?
Yeah, across the world, or Maine anyway.
Yeah, you know.
And we are here to talk to you about some video games. And of course, first things first, we got to talk to you about what we've been playing this week. So what's that, man? What do you got going on?
So, I've been playing League of Legends. I jumped back into ranked because I fucking hate myself. No, honestly, I jumped back in the rank yesterday because somebody wanted to play ranked with me, and I ended up going like 7 wins, 2 losses. So it was pretty good. We face rolled pretty well, and then I ended up playing some by myself and did really well as well. So it's fun though. Oh, I mean a little bit of Call of Duty Warzone, but you know with everybody getting on, we don't have enough to like have 2 squads of 3. So
Right. At least not yet. I'm
not
starting
yet.
to recruit.
It's
Starting
true.
to pull guys from the bleachers.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But what have
yeah,
you been
for
playing then?
sure. So the first thing, I've been playing Animal Crossing like a madman, getting on there every day just to fiddle around and fix the town up a little bit. But the main deal that I've done this week is if you checked on into our Instagram page, I finally platinum Final Fantasy 15.
I saw that. I did.
Yeah. So the last thing I needed to do in that game was defeat the Adamantoids, which is this ridiculous fight that takes upwards of like 2 or 3 hours. I clocked in at probably like an hour and a half or so. So that was pretty intense. The
Damn.
thing doesn't really do a whole lot of damage to you. The biggest fight with it all is the clipping and all the horrible things that happen because the creature's so fucking big. The game just can't like handle it. I think it was kind of an afterthought, and to think that it's one of the trophies that you need to get the platinum was kind of ridiculous. But did it, and finally finished with that game, so that felt pretty good to get in the rearview mirror right before Final Fantasy VII comes out this week. So
Nice. Yeah, pretty excited about that. I
yeah,
haven't played a ton, but
which brings me to the thing we're going to do later this week. I wanted to let everybody know that we're going to be doing a Final Fantasy VII hype cast this Wednesday. If everything works out, that we can record that Wednesday afternoon. We're going to get that up as soon as possible, hopefully before launch. And yeah, so we can all get hyped for Final Fantasy VII, talk about our favorite things about it, and I have some questions compiled up. I'll send those to you for sure to
dope.
mull over and get prepared. But yeah, Anthony is going to be joining us for that one, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Sweet, sweet. And then
But yeah, what were you gonna say?
I'm super hyped.
Not
Super
right.
hyped, man. I do love Final
Yeah,
Fantasy.
yeah, man, ready for it. And that kind of leads me into the big topics of the week. Doesn't have anything to do with Final Fantasy VII, but it's on the other end of the spectrum where it's really kind of a big bummer. Last of Us 2 and Iron Man VR were delayed indefinitely because of the coronavirus. And
Dude, what? Iron
yeah,
Man VR
yeah,
was delayed? Fuck The
yeah,
Last of Us. I'm so disappointed.
yeah. I mean, hold your hats in solace here because we lost one of the greatest VR games. No, I'm just fuck Iron Man VR. Are you kidding me? Last of Us 2.
I know, right?
I think it's fine. I think people are kind of taking it with a grain of salt just simply because there was a lot of crunch that was talked about with that game leading into launch,
Mhm.
and I think giving that team as much time as possible to work on that game is always good, and I don't think anything bad can come of that for sure. And this just means it gets closer and closer to that PS5 launch and uh, possible PS5 PS4 cross launch, which could be really cool.
Yeah, for sure. I'm super excited about like I mean, yeah, the more they push it back, like the more I'm just like, oh, I want to play it, but at the same time, it's like it's gonna be probably better on the next console, and if they do, I mean, I said before, I think that they're actually gonna like it's going to just get pushed back for console release. I mean,
Right.
I could be wrong, but that's kind of my thought on it.
I mean, at this point, I would if I were Sony, I would give it my best to get those get it out at least at launch, like a remaster or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
whatever specs you're gonna bump up on that game, get it out for a launch title just to have something to tote on the system, unless they have something crazy planned for the launch of PS5, which I can't really imagine because not a whole lot of studios I think are ready to launch their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see any of the uh, screenshots of this game that they released?
Oh, of the wait.
Last of Us 2.
I don't want to skip ahead in the show notes. Which one?
The Last of Us 2. They released some screenshots and dude, they're gorgeous. If you haven't seen them, I'll send them to you later, or you can just look it up on IGN. They have a big story about the delay, and the screenshots came straight from Naughty Dog, and
Oh yeah.
man, they're gorgeous. Man, the game looks like a movie. It's intense.
I have not seen them. Update. I now see them.
All right, sweet.
Um.
What do you think? What do you think of those shiny faces?
Yeah, dude. They really do look like literally like a movie scene. There's one spot where Ellie is laying down in a bed, and that just looks so realistic. There's another scene where I think it's either Joel or Tommy. It says Joel or Tommy, either way. Somebody's playing guitar, and that looks fucking sick.
Yeah, man.
Like, damn,
The
dude.
one of Joel, I think they're in like some sort of outdoor setting,
Mhm.
and the lighting on his face just like accentuates like the age difference from the first game, and I was just like, whoa, that's insane, man.
You
I
could
can't I can't wait to get into this game.
you could definitely count like the fucking hairs on his chin. Like that's how good it is. That other picture also, you can see the like between the veins of like there's hair on his arm, and they even put like a little bit of hair on his hand, and you can see between like the wrinkles in the hair. Like they did such a good job with this, dude.
Yeah, man. I'm bummed out that it's delayed, but at the same time, it's going to be well worth the wait, especially seeing these new screenshots, like how far along they already are. They said that the delay obviously wasn't because of development; it was because of the strain that the coronavirus has put on the actual developers themselves and like the distribution of everything. Final
Mhm.
Fantasy actually had a big problem with that. We talked about that last week, where actually getting it out to people is going to be a problem. So they released it early in Europe and Australia, and I think that from the statements they said they wanted to give a better launch experience so that everybody can experience the game at the same time, rather than having spoilers get out there and people get the game ruined for them. I think it's probably best that we wait for it.
I 100%. I agree.
Yeah.
I uh I can't remember. I think it was Anthony, like said that it was gonna take him 7 days to download it because of the PSN throttling, though.
Yeah, yeah. I guess the preloads are pretty ridiculous for that game right now. I mean, it's 100 gigs, and they throttled back the PSN downloads for everyone. So I imagine it's pretty ridiculous.
It's kind of a yikes, but it is what it
Yeah.
is.
What can you do?
I mean,
But I didn't want to like mull over Iron Man VR at all, but I did, and the the thing about it is, I guess it's really good from everything that like Kind of Funny says about it. They had a good preview. Greg had a really good preview of it, and he said that it's just like when you think of moving like Iron Man in the VR setting, like you exactly move like Iron Man. You fly with your hands, you pull your hand up to shoot. It all works like you think it would. So if I had a VR headset, I would totally be down and just no, not just as hyped, but I'd be hyped for it anyway. But
yeah, I
yeah, the fact that we're lacking the VR is kind of a bummer on that one. But I just kind of wanted to mention it anyway.
I definitely a part of me is really excited to see VR games go somewheres because I want to see VR speed runs to some extent. Like I just want to see somebody speed run like an Iron Man game because or like a game that takes like 4 or 5 hours because I think that it kind of takes speed running to a whole new level where like you're
Right.
just kind of stuck in that for like 4 or 5 hours if you really like, you know what I mean? Like it just takes it to a different level. It would be cool to see.
Right. Yeah, and like the aspect of actually using your own body in a speed run where you might
Hmm.
actually have to be in some sort of shape to work it out. Like the first game that comes to mind is Super Hot. Like if
Yo,
you were to speed run those levels, the amount of actual physical conditioning you would have to do to get into shape to like beat any kind of record would probably be ridiculous.
it'd be a lot of fun though. Like it, I could watch that. Like a
Oh
camera
yeah.
of like sees what the person's doing, and then a camera that actually sees the person.
Mm. You got to give them a lot of space, man. You take lamps away from them, like pull the couch out.
Yo,
Yeah, give them some space because there's going to be a lot of flailing.
yo, that game's that the VR especially of that game is super interesting because it lets you. I don't know if you played Super Hot, but like you can throw weapons into the next like room as well that you're in and use the weapons that you just threw in there. There's so many like cool things that you can do.
No, that's pretty cool. I didn't realize it was like fluid level to level like that.
Mm-hmm. Um,
That's pretty dope.
it's kind of like one is all one place and then like so on and so forth. So once you change environments, it's like a new building, if you will. But like I think the first 3 levels, they don't tell you that you can do it. But people usually figure out by the second level you can throw weapons through windows, and then like it places you where the weapon will be thrown, so you can grab the weapon out of the air and use that weapon if you wanted to, which is really fucking cool.
Right. I did see one level where you start on the top of a building or something like that, and
Hmm.
you're shooting guys like coming down on you, and then uh, somebody drops a weapon in the next scene. They're below themselves
Yo,
inside the building, and they catch the weapon that drops. So I guess I did kind of see an example of that before, but I didn't realize that it was like the separate instances, and it actually happened in other parts of the game too. That. But anyway, to end that conversation, moving on to the next topic is Resident Evil came out this week to a bunch of fanfare. People really loving the Resident Evil 3 remake just as much as 2, but the multiplayer version kind of got, or the multiplayer mode that they packed in kind of got some heat. So, have you seen any of the gameplay of Resident Evil 3 yet?
I looked up the trailer and saw a little bit of the gameplay. Not a ton of it, but I did see. I mean, the game looks really good. I wouldn't say it looks better than the Resident Evil 2 remake, but
Mm.
if you like the Resident Evil 2 remake, it looks just as good, if not better, in my opinion.
Right. The engine is all the same. They're just made some minor lighting tweaks. It seems like some of the stuff looks more like viscous and wet, and the
Hmm.
light shines off of like wet buildings and ground a little bit better. But that's just to be expected when a team gets more experienced with an engine. But uh,
Yeah.
yeah, if you played or saw anything that Resident Evil 2 remake had, you pretty much seen the gameplay from this. But the proof is in the pudding, so to speak, when it comes to the actual enemy nemesis that chases you around this map instead of oh, I always forget his name. I always call him Mr. T, but the guy with the little bowler hat that chases you around in two. He was always kind of a threat, and it was always a little terrifying having him just stomp around in different areas. And if you had a headset on, you could kind of like hear what part of the building was in. But when he actually got near you, he wasn't really that big a threat. You could kind of move around him and skirt the sides of the map and just get away from him pretty easily. But the thing with Nemesis this time is that he is faster than you. He
Oh,
actually attacks you. He has like this tentacle arm that just grabs your ass and will just tear you apart limb from limb. He can use weapons, so that's ridiculous. He can actually pick up like missile launchers, and I believe there's a machine gun that he uses at one point.
that's pretty
Um,
dope.
yeah, that's going to be pretty terrifying. I'm waiting. I'm definitely going to wait to play that until after Final Fantasy VII, just because they come up back to back. But uh, yeah, I'm pretty excited to dip into that one. But the multiplayer mode, Resistance, it's that asymmetrical. It's 4v1, one person controls like traps and different aspects of the actual layout of the map, and the four players have to survive and escape this area. I guess it's not as good as it could have been, and it's a little disappointing to me because I really liked the idea of having another really good Resident Evil multiplayer game.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one was Mercenaries, and in five I think was really good. Um,
I mean,
so
admittedly, I didn't play. I haven't played most of the Resident Evil games. Um, However, I have heard that the I have a buddy who really loved the Resident Evil 2, and he told me that he really liked a lot of the story, but it's never really been known for its multiplayer. So,
yeah, it never really has been, but it's sort of like The Last of Us One in that aspect, where Last of Us One's campaign had like all of the good graces and everything. Everybody loved that, but
mm-hmm.
there was like a small sect of people that absolutely adored the multiplayer mode in that game, which to speak to it, it actually was really cool. It was a very visceral survival multiplayer game, unlike anything else, where you had to like kind of it was a little bit like battle royale before battle royale. You had to pick up your supplies, you had to craft things on the go, and you were using just the weapons that you had in a loadout and things that you could find around the map.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of interesting, and in that way, um, I'm pretty disappointed with the fact that this multiplayer mode isn't up to snuff. Just because I like that third person aspect of especially a horror esque multiplayer game, a la like Friday the 13th. You know,
Yeah, I mean, definitely. What was the other one? Friday the 13th and Dead by Daylight. Definitely
yeah, Dead by
something
Daylight.
along that line is. I mean, it sells well and it's pretty cool, but
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Resident Evil 3, the campaign is pretty dope. So if you liked 2 at all, I would highly recommend getting 3. Just from what I've heard and what I've seen, it's getting great reviews everywhere, and you can't
mm,
really go wrong with a team that's been practiced, like I said, with that engine for a whole another what year and a half, 2 years now. So
probably. And I mean, realistically, they probably were working on that other one long before this one. Once they
yeah,
got kind
yeah.
of things down, it was quicker to redo this one. My guess would be too.
Oh yeah, for sure. And a
So
lot of the scenarios take place in um, very similar areas, and the assets can't be that much different, I guess.
yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure. Especially when they're in the same engine. But you know, you know what time it is, Nick?
what time is it, man?
I think it's time for a mid-show plug. So if you play Resident Evil 2 or 3, why don't you tell us what you think about it and compare the two? Tell us what you think in the comments. And while you're writing that comment out right now, because I know you are, we'll
Oh
uh,
yeah, of course they are.
we'll talk about Valorant, Variant.
Va-
It's by Riot
Val-
Games.
Valorant,
Yeah, that's
and
what I said the
yeah,
first time.
Riot Games' new tactical shooter. It got a beta, and everybody's well, everybody. It's everybody that's included in the beta, and
Mhm.
a lot of FPS streamers are going bananas over it. Whether it's Riot Games paying them to play it or whatever, um, they seem to be going into a lot of depth with the game itself. So it's from what I hear, it's like CS:GO meets Overwatch meets Apex. Like it's, I mean, a little less Apex because it's not a battle royale, but it's
Yeah,
yeah,
shooting style.
yeah. So, what's your feel on it? Have you looked into any of this at all?
Yeah, so I've seen quite a bit of it. I watched Ninja play it a little bit. I watched Tim Tatman play it a little bit. I watched Dr. Lupo play it a little bit.
Hmm.
I really like the style of it. The gunplay seems pretty good for what it is. It seems a little like novice or like arcadey in gunplay, in my opinion. Um,
Hmm.
but that might be kind of its charm to some extent because like there is a lot of very realistic shooters right now, and there isn't a ton of like obviously Fortnite, but Fortnite has like a bloom system, which takes a little it adds a little bit of luck into the system. This doesn't really look like there's a bloom at all. It looks like it's a very patternized, like you definitely can learn spray patterns of weapons. You can definitely learn hit mechanics. Like,
Hmm.
so I like that. I think that it'll definitely be interesting. If I had to say anything though, it's literally like CS:GO with an arcade skin, and the characters now have skills. Like it almost looks
Right.
exactly the same.
Yeah, I had that exact feel, especially when we watched the first trailer for it when it dropped.
Hmm.
Yeah, it definitely looks exactly like the map they were on looked exactly like a CS:GO map, and I think that that's probably a direction that they kind of wanted to go in. Like they wanted that familiarity for the first person shooter community to be like, oh well, I play CS:GO, so this is a natural evolution or a natural like side game to that. Um, where you can just kind of jump in. And it seems like Shroud being a big CS:GO player before he's in love with it. He actually played a bunch of it. That's the guy I watched. So
Hmm. Shroud's
um,
like fucking amazing. Probably the best name in the world, if I had to say.
yeah, yeah, he's really good. And yeah, he just goes over the like you were saying, like the predictability of the spray of guns where. Uh, when you're crouched, it has a tighter spray than when you're standing, and like
Hmm.
the attention to detail that they've put into the gunplay that kind of draws in those professional players.
Hmm.
Um, whereas it doesn't seem like it'd be very enterable for somebody that doesn't play games like CS:GO or anything like that, or arena shooters like Overwatch. But yeah, I don't
I
know. I might take a look at the beta if it's even open. I don't know if it's open or closed.
I didn't actually look to see if it was open or closed. I will say League, like just to kind of tie in Riot in general, League of Legends is a very it's a very pros positioned game. Like if you want to play like a pro, you're gonna end up playing on the same exact clients that they play on. Um, and that's kind of how Riot Games runs everything. Riot Games definitely is an esports company in the sense where even if it's not good in the lower meta, like people like the casual metas, if you will, the game
Right.
will usually kind of teeter towards the pro meta or even the professional meta way more. So it's definitely not something that I would put past Riot to basically kind of just say, well, casual shooter players will understand it or they won't, and then kind of create a new CS:GO platform for the EA or not EA, sorry, the yeah no EA Sport type communities,
Hmm.
but definitely fun to see it grow.
Yeah, very interesting the up and down cycle of that game where there was literally no information about it just a month or two ago, and then now it's in full beta and people are testing it out and streaming it. So it's
Yeah.
uh it's pretty impressive. But I'm gonna let you get into this next one because I know you were excited about this game and I was too. But you're actually the skater boy in the podcast, so I'll let you go.
Well, I'll say see you later, boy. Sorry, I had to make that reference.
Ouch.
um, Skater XL from East Games Studios is coming out in July 2020 on everything, which I am super
That
excited
means
about.
everything too, dude. Yeah, it's coming out on Switch, which I'm
Hmm.
I'm a little concerned about. I'm concerned about the Switch's actual operating system, whether or not it's actually just gonna fucking crash from whatever
Well,
this game's able to put out.
I mean, Switch doesn't have a ton of graphics processing power, but the Switch processor itself isn't terrible. And if you look at like what is a skating simulator, it's literally just a bunch of physics mathematical calculations.
Hmm.
So like it doesn't take much graphics processing power, so they just change the graphics processing power, tune it down, and then retune it to use as a like actual calculations RAM buffer, and I'm sure that it will be fine.
Right, so they just optimized the GPU to help the CPU,
Yeah, pretty
pretty
much,
much.
yeah.
Yeah.
Simulation games really don't require a ton, unless you're trying to play Civ 6 on the fastest setting, in which case your computer is like, ah!
Yeah, my Mac had trouble with 5, so I can't imagine that my I, the, Anthony has Civ 6 on Switch,
Hmm.
and I guess it runs fine if you're not doing like online matches or multiplayer. It's just really good as single player against CPU.
Yo, I
But as
could
soon
see
as
that.
things start to fill out, is when it starts to chug, which makes a lot of sense because when things move around on the map, it's naturally going to have a little bit of a overpouring of power onto the Switch.
Yeah, for sure. But Skater XL, pretty excited. Actually, I think I have played. I'm literally sitting at my computer, so I can just go. Yeah, look at that right there. I've played 20 hours of Skater XL, so like, I wouldn't say I'm amazing at it, but I would say it's a pretty fun game. The physics themselves are really good in the game, and the developers have consistently been like updating the game. Like, I wouldn't, almost weekly, if not weekly. Like, there's been very very consistent patches.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, the Steam page itself tells everything. Right now, the Steam page is sitting at a 91% positivity over the last 30 days, and then an 84% positivity over like its lifespan, which is very good, especially for a Steam game, because Steam reviewers like to just shit on things because they find it fun.
Right, right. They just review bomb the shit out of shit.
Pretty much. I'm just so excited that we get a Skate 3. Like, this is my Skate 4. Fuck you,
Right,
Skate 4. I don't need you. I have Skater
right.
XL.
So that being said, like how close is it to Skate? Like how good does it feel in terms of like at least comparison to how Skate felt? Because Skate felt great, man. I remember playing Skate and absolutely loving it. It was like way better than Tony Hawk.
Um, I would say it feels about 3 times better.
3 times better. All right. So
Physics
that
wise,
just
like um Skate wasn't created really by a ton of skaters,
right.
and the tricks themselves, like if you wanted to do a specific variation of a trick, like say you wanted to tray flip, there was no like really stick memorization in it. It was very simple. It was just very like down, right, scoop out, go in, and you could tray flip every single time. This game, if you want to tray flip, you can, like, you have to move your stick in a similar way. They made the controls somewhat similar to the skate like controls, but if you decided halfway through you wanted to change the tray flip and sex change, you could right bumper sex change over your tray flip, or you could like stop your tray flip. You could catch your tray flip early. You can tweak your tray flip if you want to in a different way. Like, there's just so much more very like minute details that you wouldn't see in most games. Like, you can actually slow your flips down if you want to slow flips down. And like, just the fact that you can like tweak flips and different shit like that is really cool. It shows just how much these people understand skating itself, which is really dope to see.
Yeah, man. That's really awesome. My hype levels have instantly gone uh, what three times up anyway.
3 times up.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited for it, and yeah, I'm just happy to have a skating game back in my life because I really enjoyed, like I said, skate, and I mean in the grand old days of Thug, I
Mm,
played a lot of Tony Hawk Underground 1 and 2, so
for sure. And the game, I don't know what it's gonna release price point wise for consoles, but it is $20 on computer. So
yeah. Hopefully it's a similar price point. I wouldn't mind paying even a little bit more just to support like a smaller company, and maybe the Skater XXL can be
mhm.
uh, even better. But yeah, anyway, moving on to our last topic of the show. This one was actually something that I got really hyped for because it looks ridiculous. I don't know if you've seen the trailer or not, but Mortal Shell is a new Souls-like game with some balls, man. Got
I
an
saw
announcement
that you said
trailer
with
showing.
balls. What does that mean?
Yeah, you got to see the trailer and you'll know exactly what I mean. The announcement trailer showed off some gruesome looking enemies, really rugged looking world, and this ability for your avatar or your character that you're controlling is this almost ghost like creature that can take over bodies of fallen knights and things like that around the world. So
Interesting.
you're literally possessing knights, taking them and using them in battle, and you can then in mid combat like exit the body and use your corporeal body or whatever your starting body and attack that way and get back into your body again or the your host body again. It's ridiculous. You have to see it. You have to see the trailer to really know what I'm talking about. But it's said to be launching this year on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. They
That's
didn't
really
say
cool.
whether or not that's going to be Series X or PlayStation 5, so it could be a possible launch title for those.
I mean, usually I like these types of games too because they always launch at the same time as computer. Like a lot of times the games run just as well on console as they do computer because they're not usually like crazy graphically impairing. It's mostly usually just like very calculations because of the physics world. I am watching the trailer as we're talking about it, and man, this thing is like, it definitely looks really good though. Like the
So
graphics look good.
yeah, the thing that struck me so much, like apart from the like possession thing, like apart from all of that, is what your character is actually able to do as far as fighting in the game, where you're using abilities and what looks like almost magic
Mm-hmm.
to like spawn spikes from the ground or turn your body to stone and take damage. It seems like there's a lot more variation in the combat that gives you a little bit more feeling of power in the world of a Souls like game where the enemies are ridiculously big, they're scary as fuck, and they're you it doesn't seem like you're going to feel super underpowered against that. And I mean, the point of Dark Souls and those games is to make you feel powerless and to
Mm-hmm.
get you past those uh, seemingly insurmountable odds. But I like the idea of having a slew of magical abilities to take down crazy bosses and all that. So,
Yeah, it definitely looks pretty crazy. Um,
mm,
Also, though, like a really unique take on like how to do a Dark Souls game. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
I'm pretty excited to see more gameplay and more trailers and see like what exactly they do with this. I didn't really know a ton about this until you sent me the show notes, and then I was like, oh, I should probably like look at this. And then
yeah.
after watching that trailer really quick, that's really cool.
Yeah, Mortal Shell is a great fucking name too. I'm not gonna put it past it.
Yeah, Mortal Shell's
Like
pretty dope.
it sounds like a dope ass anime or something.
It definitely sounds like you're gonna die
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
you're
not
definitely
Immortal
gonna die.
Shell. It's Mortal Shell.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh?
Your husk is
You're
definitely gonna die.
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, that's everything we got for you this week. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment below, like you said. And if you played Resident Evil 2 and you're playing Resident Evil 3 now, tell us the differences. Let us know what to look forward to in that game because both of us haven't played that yet. So pretty excited for that. And just comment with anything that you think we should do in subsequent episodes coming up. And also get hyped for the Final Fantasy hype video and make sure you watch that on Wednesday or Thursday when that goes up because yeah, we're going to be super hyped that day. And I know with each passing hour, I'm like getting even more excited for Final Fantasy 7. I'm trying to stay away from as many reviews as I can. I'm trying to stay away from any more trailers. I saw that most recent trailer that was pretty spoilerific if you're not a Final Fantasy 7 veteran. But yeah, man, loving doing the podcast. And honestly, this wasn't even a bad setup. We we're super far away, but it feels like we're right next to each other. So
100%, dude. I can't wait to do the show on Wednesday and have you guys all watch it.
hell yeah. So we'll see you then. Peace.
Peace.